wasn't done. That money is there in that budget.
Well, it isn't what everybody's been saying all along for the last
Well,
year and a half.
I did, for the last 3 years I've
That's
been
why
griping about it.
supposedly Nottingham rejected the budget,
Yes,
is because he felt that they were overspending and whatnot.
I think the feeling was that the raises were not justified by the work performed.
What wasn't being done, it should have been being done.
That isn't being done now.
What wasn't being done? We were doing street repairs, we were doing all the mowing, which I seen
And I've got
Nate
several-
Stickett was out today doing the
Yeah, good
mowing
job,
for the
Nate,
town.
thanks.
Yeah.
I've
And
gotten-
weed eating and
I've gotten
picking
a
up
lot of
stuff.
complaints, not only me, but several people, even in this office, the front office, about the job that was done on Lover's Lane, about.
Oh, I grant you, and I tried to
The job
explain that to
that-
you, the council.
The
I
job that
explained
was
that to the
done on
council to
Carbon
you.
Street, I know that at one point in one council meeting, you stated to me that it takes a long time for the streets to get the way they are, and it's gonna take a long time
It
for them
does.
to fix them. But if a person is on the job and doing what he needs to do,
Mhm.
as soon as that damage appears, by God, you go fix it. Don't let it get as bad as it's
Okay.
going.
Okay, so who had to approve the money for that?
You guys
The
wouldn't buy
council
any
did.
asphalt.
There was no money to approve because it had been spent.
Mike
There-
never submitted a budget for that.
There was never, every time I asked for
I told
asphalt, we
Mike
were
when
told
I
not
came
to.
on-
Clear back to when Ed Warner Coombs was the mayor, that money got spent inappropriately and you guys were having to pay it back to the state.
Yes, we did.
That's the money
And
for
we
the road
paid-
tax, so there was no money to
And
repair
we paid
roads.
that back.
And now
but-
you're trying to pawn that off on it was Mike's fault?
I didn't say it
That's
was
a
Mike's
cop-out.
fault. I am saying that that could have been taken care of. And it should have been taken care of.
Well, it's the fault that it wasn't getting repaired.
If
the
Mike,
money had to
if
be
I
approved
told
by the
Mike when I
council.
first came on board, I says, Mike, I want you to sit down with me and I want you, Mike, to work that budget. Put your money in there, what you need to have, what projects you need to have it for, and you bring it to the council.
So how are you gonna get on
Do
a
that.
project right away when you have to bring a budget once a month? And if something happens at the beginning, the middle, or the end of that month that has, like you just said, that should have been gotten on top of, how is that gonna be repaired without no budget?
I've got money in the budget.
You do now, that's not what I just asked. I said when Mike and I were there. We would have made repairs had we had an approval for a budget to get asphalt when it was needed, and we would have gotten right on top of those street repairs.
I asked several times for asphalt, you as the council denied it.
Did you come to the budget sessions?
No.
Any of the budget sessions?
Nope.
Then Mike, you should have been there. You should have come to the budget sessions and say, look guys, this is what we need to get this done.
Look, guys, I told every one of you councilmen that we
meetings.
needed asphalt, we needed
At every council
money for
meeting.
asphalt. I agree with you on Lover's Lane, I'll be
I've
the
never
first
had a
one to tell you on
problem
Lover's
getting
Lane.
any money for
But
you
when
guys
you're
to use
borrowing
for those
somebody else's
asphalt.
equipment and they're running the equipment,
I
it's
had
kind
no
of hard
control
to
over
be
Lover's Lane.
responsible
Lover's
and
Lane
tell them
is,
how to run their equipment. They're gonna tell you to piss off and they won't come down here with the equipment at all.
Bridger's equipment, they were running their equipment, they were running it their way, they weren't running it, I don't think, in the right manner. It was
I know they
following the
weren't doing anything in the right manner.
Well, there's nothing I can do, we were using their equipment. We were trying to do the best that we could
That's
with
why
what we
Mike came
had.
to the meetings asking for equipment to be
That's why we were
purchased so
after
that they could
equipment.
have their own equipment.
So that we could do it ourselves.
Well,
But-
unfortunately, I just don't, in this budget right now, we don't have that. We're over budget in several places, and that's what we have to figure out before the end of July, or before the end of June, where that's at. And most of it has to do with project costs and all the stuff that was mixed in with our budget that should have been separate from our budget totally. Well, all the grant monies, all of the loans, that should have been listed in a separate line item. It should have never been put in your budget or in the sewer budget, water department. None of that stuff should have been put in our budget, in our actual financial budget. And it was. Therefore, it is now so screwed up that it's gonna take a week and a half just to figure out where that money went and which line items it came out of and why it was used that way.
Isn't
Because-
that how MMIA set it up? That it had to be set up that way?
No.
Each thing had to come out of a
No.
category?
No, they did not. MMIA has nothing to do with our budget, other than with our health benefits and our life insurance benefits and things like that. They don't have anything to do with our budget at all. They don't approve it, they don't set it up.
So who approves the budget?
The council approves the budget, we submit it to the
No,
state, and
somebody
then
else
they,
approves it, because they
No.
were waiting on it last year. Yeah, there
the
is
state
somebody
is, the
else.
state, it's mailed to the state, it's submitted to the state, and the state will approve it. Audrey?
I think what Kelly is referring to, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the state administration has to approve it, but here's my question. Is there clearly defined roles for your employees?
Yes.
If,
No.
and the reason why I ask is,
We have
it seems
employee-
like just observation, if it was clearly defined, this is what employee A is supposed to do, and this is what employee B is supposed to do, and if part of that requirement was to be at the budget meetings, which it doesn't sound like it was, then I'm sure Mr. Ventling would have participated in those budget meetings, and I'm sure TJ would have as well, if that was a requirement. It just seems like there's been a lot of things that have been left pretty open to interpretation the last 4 years, and now we're kind of paying the price for that.
Exactly.
So I don't think we can change what's happened, but maybe we can redirect what happens in the future.
There you go. And the thing of it is yes, we go through preliminary budget after we have our budget sessions. That preliminary budget is held at a public meeting. Anybody can come to the budget sessions when we are working on the budget to make suggestions or look at the budget, just to go through it with what's going on. We've never had that happen.
If you
Mike
can,
was at a budget meeting, at least one I know of for sure.
When was that?
I don't know, you were wanting to cut everybody else's wages and give Mike a raise.
So it's probably the last budget session we had in June of last year.
Probably before, yeah.
if you go to the state administration website, you can pull up Fromberg's budget and the audits that have been done since 2012. If you want them prior to 2012, you can request them from the state.
Yeah, and we don't have a state audit every year. We're not required to because our budget is less than $500,000 a year. What we have is an annual financial review, and it's done by a CPA. He comes in, he does the whole review on all of the budget, all the expenses, all the revenues, and then what he does, and what he has done in the past, which I don't agree with, is he rearranges everything in the budget, makes it come out right. I don't adhere to that. I think that we need to make sure it's right before we do the annual review. This year, we have to do a state financial review, and that is a state audit. And they will come in, and I can guarantee you right now that we will have exceptions on that audit, a lot of them. It's going to be a hair-pulling month this month, just to get that audit, or just get that budget in tow, and where we need to have it.
So the original question still hasn't been answered. Where is the extra $4 and something an hour that you're paying this bill or whoever more than
When
what
Ralph
you were paying
resigned-
Mike, who
when-
had been the
when Ralph
public works
resigned-
director for over 5 years and was making $16.83 an hour, and you hire somebody that has no experience and you give them $1,000 sign-on bonus and start him off at $21 an hour. Now, Mr. Nottingham questioned 3 hours or 4 hours of overtime in the workshop meeting over changing the schedule. That had been addressed, that if whoever was on call that weekend would
I
just
believe
leave
that
at
was-
2 o'clock, then there would be no overtime, it would be straight 40 hours.
I believe
How
that
do you
was Mr.
justify the
Perkins's-
difference in the wages
I
when
believe that
everybody was
Mr.
so?
Perkins's schedule that was worked up, that the council was looking at seriously.
Well, there were several that were,
We
Brought
are saving
to light.
money in the police department budget because we have contracted with the sheriff's office. We're saving about $16,000 a year on that, just on that one item, that one budget item alone. We have cut back on supplies, stuff that we didn't need, like 40 ink printer cartridges and things like that. I have, in the last 3 months, gone over some of the vendor actuals. We were buying 3 and 4 huge boxes of toilet paper and stuff every single month. Where did all that stuff go? Because 4 people in the whole building surely heck does not use that much toilet paper.
Who's Ralph?
It's in there.
I don't know who was buying the toilet paper, it wasn't me, but.
Who's Ralph?
I do have, and since you're cutting out, can you explain why you no longer have Hawkins delivering your chlorine?
Because Mr. Spencer at Curb Box is doing all of the chemicals, testing and chlorine for right now.
So is he charging the town for that?
Yes.
Well, Hawkins wasn't charging anything to deliver the
Oh,
chlorine.
he doesn't charge us to deliver it, no, he just picks it up.
And you're getting it cheaper by him buying it in town
Yes,
and
we are.
bringing it out here?
Yes, we are. He does all the state reports, he does all the DMR reports, does all the daily testing reports, everything goes through Curb Box. They're the ones that are doing all of the metering right now, the water testing and everything.
Okay, you
And-
really need to talk to him about his chlorine meter then.
Yeah, cause when we turn on the faucet, it smells like a swimming
Your
pool.
chlorine is way high in this town.
Smells like a
Several
swimming
people
pool.
have made
That was
comments about
because
it.
one of the tubes was
Still.
changed out to a smaller tube and that chlorine was pumped up a little bit in order to
Those,
get the volume through that tube.
those tubes are all interchangeable. And I know this because I put them in there, they're all interchangeable, that had nothing to do with anything. The last reading I heard, I mean, your chlorine is, I don't know what your chlorine's meter is set at now.
I tested it yesterday, it was 41.
The meter was running at 41?
No, the test that I did, the daily was
No,
41.41.
Okay, what is your chlorine meter running at?
The
I think
dispenser.
it
The
was running
dispenser.
at 50.
Okay, when we left, we had everything set up, the dispenser's running at
Different.
17.
Yeah.
Yes, I know it was. And that's when we had that fuse problem and Ace and everybody else was down here.
Okay?
Then TJ changed out tubing,
Mhm.
put in a smaller tube than what was there.
Cause that broke on Bill's on-call weekend.
Well,
You didn't notice
and
it
I
all
understand, I
weekend.
understand what you're saying. I
Yes.
understand justification, but what I'm trying to tell you is that tubing has nothing to do with it.
You guys are a lot closer to that well house than I am, of course.
Well, I've had it
Yeah,
happen
when
all
we fill
over
the bathtub,
town.
it smells like a swimming pool.
I've had people tell me all over town that the chlorine smells horrendous. If you're running that chlorine
I haven't-
injector down there at 50, you're maxed out on the chlorine injector. You're dumping 3 times the chlorine into the water that you need.
And I've already talked to Spencer about that.
Okay, I'm just saying, the chlorine is horrendous in the water.
I haven't never had any problem with my water, so, like I
So-
said, you're a lot closer, but that shouldn't make a whole lot of difference.
Go for it.
Okay, if we're done with the chlorine, can we?
I have another question. If there is something in the works or not for doing, maybe this is directed to you, or you, background in drug testing for new hires.
It's in the employee policy, all you have to do is read it.
It
It
is.
is in place, yes.
So you do random UAs? Is that what you do? You do?
We can if there's a warrant for it, if we have
Okay,
cause
That's
to
good to
do
know.
that, yes, we do.
that's good to know.
And every employee is supposed to read the employee policy handbook and sign, there's a page in there that you have to sign off on and put it in your file in the office. That has never been done. I think Mike signed it. Nobody else has ever done that.
I've never been UA'd either.
Well, a lot of people haven't, but it's in the policy, so that if there's cause
Well,
for it,
the
if
reason-
we
Never
think
had
there is a
OSHA
cause,
training
Well,
either.
yes, we will.
The reason I'm asking is that I operate heavy equipment. That's a standard procedure anytime you operate equipment. As a prerequisite hire on, that's a standard procedure, that's standard
He had to go
procedure.
give a UA before he was even hired on.
That you have to get a UA.
No,
I'm just saying,
it's in the
you've
employee
got a guy
policy,
that's
we read all of that.
operating the backhoe, and I don't know if he can operate the grader or the rollers and all this other equipment around here. You're opening yourselves up if you don't have it in place.
I guess my question is, did you do that to this new hire, Bill?
Not yet.
Did TJ have that?
Nope, nobody's had it. That's what I'm
Nobody
saying,
had it.
nobody's had
Okay,
it.
well, I'm just asking. I
That's what
mean,
I'm saying.
The
As
past
an
goes by
operator-
with the present.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
As for somebody that operates equipment, that should be a standard procedure.
Yes, I know, we always.
As a new hire.
Nobody's had OSHA training either, and that was talked extensively at the meeting on the video by you about how Mike had OSHA training in Great Falls and Missoula and Bozeman. He had never had OSHA training. He's had OSHA training at other jobs, and not here at this town, ever. Ever.
OSHA federal regulations with OSHA are pretty standard in every state. They don't change from state to state to state.
Well, this was here, I'm talking in Fromberg, you sat at the meeting and answered Carrie Bickler and said, oh yes, Mike's had OSHA training, he just got back from Great Falls, I mean, it's on video. You can go back and watch it.
He has had a
Anybody
lot
can-
of training.
But not OSHA. She
No
asked you
OSHA.
specifically about OSHA.
She asked me
And
about,
you went on and on about how if they came in and did it privately, it'd be $200 to $500. I mean, it's like you just pick stuff out of the air. And it would be cheaper to send them like to Great Falls or Missoula or whatever. Yeah, it's on
you give
video,
me
go
the
watch
date that
it.
that's on the video.
Yeah, go watch it.
I will. Give me a date.
The timestamp was 10 minutes something into it. 10:51 or something like that. Into it. And you went on and on, answered her question. Oh yes, they've got it, and
I can't imagine why.
TJ's gonna be doing it and everything else. Go watch it.
Yes, I will. In fact, I'll
You
listen
don't
to
remember that either, I guess.
I'll listen to the tape.
The other council people were sitting there. Do you remember her talking about that?
Don't remember something about it, but I wanna watch it again. What month was that in? March? I
When you
believe.
guys were doing the talking about changing the work schedule. That was the meeting it was at.
I knew that Mike went to rural development, or to a rural water in Great Falls.
All the training he did was just for water and sewer.
It
Never
was,
had
there
any
was no
OSHA.
OSHA, there was just school.
There's no OSHA there at Great Falls or Bozeman or Missoula.
I will listen to the tape and see, make sure, because that doesn't sound familiar. Usually I can remember from time to time what I've said, so. Any other comments?
How about as far as the background checks?
Background checks are in the employee policy and they have been done. We have background checks that we can check on, and this is what we check with. We check education. We check job history. We check references. We do not check beyond all that. Anything beyond that is confidential. If that confidential information is released by our town clerk, she has put the town and herself.
So you don't do criminal backgrounds for new employees?
Because it's really easy to do it on Google, really easy.
I don't do.
And when you hire a convicted felon that spent time in federal prison, that's a problem with me when he's working at Public Works and coming in my house if he has to, around my kids, around other people's kids, grandkids, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
That concerns
And that
me.
is exactly-
Your judgment is horrible because of it. If you hire a convicted felon knowingly, because you know he is.
He had a record, yes, I knew that. I knew that before he even came on board.
But that's a real problem.
But
That's a big problem when you're hiring somebody for
That
public
can go,
works.
that can go
Marge.
into people's private homes.
Okay,
He
that's
can't go
all
in-
right,
he
but I
cannot go
know
in your
people that
homes.
came
Really? My
as
meter's in my
friends to
home.
the Vargases, and he stood right there, and he also had a record, and it was a felony. So, if you have friends like that, we all make mistakes, and if your friends are that way, don't bell her too loud.
Our friends don't work for the town.
Yeah, our friends don't work for the town.
We don't want them in our houses.
Yeah.
It does. No, it does,
Hey,
because,
we don't want them in our houses.
right, that's the
That's
thing.
the
We don't
basic
want a
formula.
felon in our home.
No.
Well,
That's
I'm
the
sorry.
point that they're making
I've
it.
known a whole
Your-
lot of
your
people that
friends-
have been in prison.
Right, but
Bad.
your friends aren't going into their homes to change their meters.
enough. We're not going, we're.
What are you telling her what to do? Are you the mayor or is she the mayor? How about you just let her run this?
Get it
Jeff?
right.
Jeff, would you empty the room? We're gonna take a 10-minute break.
Sure.
This meeting is adjourned for 10 minutes.
Fucking idiot.
Bob,
He ain't
you
coming in my house, I guarantee that. He's not setting a foot in my house.
He doesn't set foot in your house because
He
all
will
the
if he
meters
wants
are
to read the
touch
meter.
read. All the meters, the rest of the meters in town are touch read. and you
Yeah,
know
for
that.
once, but they still come in.
I've never seen anybody.
I don't know, they've never been in my house.
Never been in my turn.
Well, I've been here 50 years, so.
Same here.
Yeah, can we open that?
I'll open it if it opens.
think that's half the problem.
No, the problem is sitting right here in the front row. And she's had a problem since November.
Sweating.
And she's got to be determined to do whatever she can to turn this down upside down.
Yeah, it's starting to come down.
Oh, yeah. So what was this?
Where we at?
When was this guy convicted? This is-
Yeah, that's what I'm curious.
We didn't know.
myself.
Domestic abuse. So so they say, but the Department of Justice in Oregon told me that he fought that for 2 years and ran out of money. Department of Justice in Oregon, the laws in Oregon are a lot more
What's
strict
this
than we are.
federal offense?
It's not a federal offense, it was a felony, it was
What's it
domestic
take to make a
abuse.
domestic a felony?
What's that?
Is domestic right out the gates a felony?
Depends on how many you have.
Oh,
And I don't know about Oregon law.
It also depended on weapons.
Well, it keeps you from playing football.
That's what I was wondering, something to limit that.
And if there was a severe injury, I was told that he.
Spending for 6 games to get on yet.
And he pushed her. She fell and hit her head on her nightstand. Didn't do anything to her, but his girlfriend also had multiple counts against her for domestic violence, for domestic abuse.
That's not the issue. The issue is, was he convicted of a felony? And does that affect the councils?
As far as our insurance group and, Department of Justice, no, it does not, because it's confidential information. It's that confidential information, to the largest, and they're going crazy on it.
Just my
I
head.
understand. They're also right. You could
Oh, I
Google
didn't
that
have all that.
information.
There's no such thing as
They
confidential.
would have done that too if it hadn't have been released by our city clerk.
I understand. The point I think you need to take away from this is, you need to get everybody's approval on this, okay? Before you appoint somebody to the position, and have all the council involved in the discussion. That's all I can see taking away from.
Well, I knew this was gonna come up because she's bound and determined to do this.
Well,
I have never, ever been in the presence of evil and terror. I'm gonna be honest with you. And 2/3 of the town are in agreement. I have had more calls saying that, so.
years and years and years.
Okay.
We can't get past this quibbling and problem. We're never gonna get anything done.
That's right.
No, we're actually, I don't even know a clue where we're at on the agenda.
We skipped.
We're still in public comment.
We're still in public comment.
But you didn't do this report. We skipped over sheriff report.
Yeah.
I've got it here.
Okay, all right. We can call them back in now?
I want everybody back in.
Yeah. If they promise to be quiet.
They will.
What does Joshua's report have, like the hours worked? Do you guys want any specifics on calls or anything?
No, just
hours worked?
just hours, yeah.
If I may be real quick, just to call everybody back in. I didn't have your phone number, but I did have yours, so I sent you a text. Where that road patch was at? Over here where the did the water line? Yeah. Really need to get some gravel or something in there because that, it came around that way after it.
How about sand we have left over and mix it with the rocks I left on it?
Pretty thorough.
Yeah, there's some fine stuff over there that's got some gravel mix in it, down there where they filled the sand bags.
What about the
He got
bigger
a
stuff?
felony when he was in high school for joyriding, but
Is
the
that too
damage
big?
exceeded
That
$1.
would be too
big.
We need something.
So, he has.
Well, that's the thing, that's like a sand.
And I would just keep it up. But it sounds like you might dig that up.
I don't think I could handle seeing your
I honestly believe in giving
They
somebody.
didn't put anything, so we don't even know what's around the pipe.
15 years ago.
Why would they put
Recent.
All these things that you work in here,
Is
he's
his
had a
buddy
good work history.
The guy that he's bringing.
I don't know,
is he
but anyway,
filling
I just saw that one
Like I
water
said, that
valve
being the case, I mean,
covered
if it would
that was
help,
closest to the
just
fence.
Delegate, he's the guy that.
Carol's fence or whoever's there on the
So
corner.
the stuff
I
down-
saw tonight when I came by there that it was starting to lean.
I ran. I used to go for it.
So that's the
I'd recommend that.
the stuff down by the river is real big.
That would be good.
This road next to the one we do.
Yeah, and if you're gonna dig it out anyway.
They could run it up.
Are you in my way?
Yep.
Do you need to tussle?
Yep.
You win, I give up.
Anyway. I saw it.
We'll call meeting back to order,
It's all good.
and
You're
we will
totally
move
good.
on. Discussion about anything else is closed, we'll look into it. Minutes,
Sheriff report.
or sheriff's report.
Looks like we had about 65 hours between the month of April and May. It's like 30 and 35, so it's running about the same.
Anything drastic happen?
I didn't see anything drastic, few traffic stops, I'll get some smaller calls, nothing major. It's domestics.
Been hearing just kind of like people talking, I guess, like vandalism starting to spur up, and I know that's one of those deals, and obviously it's happening in the dark of the night. I mean, the guy doing it's probably not dumb enough to do it in front of you, but I have heard people saying that they're starting to get a few more things vandalized, but,
When that happens, they need to call the sheriff's office.
I took one vandalism call last week. It was a kid with a BB gun, so, but,
taking out windows, or?
no, satellite dish, actually.
That was a BB gun did that?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that had some power to it.
I love it.
I know there's been nothing at the school, so we're doing well up there.
And you might spread the word, I do hear from people in town that they don't know that you don't have a cop anymore, so they, but if they
I
call our
thought
office,
everybody
which is
knew.
what they should have done anyway, they should get
Yeah.
us anyway, so.
Okay.
And I know the sheriff's guys are here all hours of the night, so
They are,
I've seen them, so.
I have to, several, you know,
Still
off and on,
patrol these rivers pretty
2 or 3 times a week, 4 times a week, they've been here patrolling.
Sitting by that.
We're looking at sheriff's contract renewal.
You already did that.
Okay, I didn't mark it off. Okay, public comment, we did that. Minutes, we have to approve the minutes.
You have to change them first. I wasn't here last week.
Does she have you written down as being here?
I was here in spirit, but my body was busy. So just draw a line through my name on that, if you got it.
I'll just put a note on it, get it back to her.
So we need to make a motion.
Yeah, has everybody read them?
Well, I make a motion, we accept the minutes, except for changing the name. Take Bill's name off of it, I guess.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the minutes as amended, and a second.
Second.
Are we all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did they say aye?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear him, I'm sorry.
Get it wrong.
Needs, let's see, they're up to the bills. Everybody has gone through the bills? Any questions on the bills? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bills.
No, we didn't.
Have a motion to approve the bills. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Elton, do we have anything for zoning?
Yeah, we have the results of the survey.
Okay, I don't have those yet. They have not sent us the results from the survey.
Did they do it?
They
I
are,
haven't seen any evidence.
I have already gotten in touch with Red Lodge Survey, and they will do the survey, and they will give, Mr., what's his last name? Mackenzie. They will call him before, and she said that they would probably do it within the next 2 to 2.5 weeks, and I called her a week and a half ago, so they should be getting ready to come down here and survey that property.
Well, they might want to move a few things before they get started. Because it's a little difficult to do it with trailers in the way.
They will contact him first and tell him what they need to have done when they come down to do the survey. So they will come and do that. And they will contact him first and let him know what they need to be, what he needs to do.
There's one other thing I want to bring up too, is because there's the issues of, A and B districts, and I was talking to Hope about this. I think that, since there's all this money floating around now, I think it'd be a really good idea to fund a professional map for the city. Because that one up there is kind of difficult to figure out. And I think we need a professional map, and I think it should be with the applications. I think there should be at least some sort of a map for everybody to look at. It would be professional, it'd save a lot of hassle for us, and maybe for the council, if you have a professional map. I mean, that's probably good for the time, but
And you can mark all your curb stands and meter pits.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to throw that in too.
I think Alton's referring to a zoning map showing what districts are what and what the boundaries are of the districts. Maybe they could incorporate.
It does show the city lots though, correct?
Yes.
But up here?
The map you're talking about would show city lots, correct?
Well, it sure should.
Then you can still put,
Well, then I'll put it
you
on.
can still put
Yeah.
your meter pits and your curb stands
That would take care
on
of
all
two
of your
maps
city
in one.
lots.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I think there ought to be a motion.
if you and the council, the zoning committee, would work up a proposal and bring it to the next council meeting, then we'll
Okay.
do that.
Tammy's out of town, of course. And I haven't seen Dottie or heard from her. I tried to call her because I was gonna meet with Hope. So I have no clue where she's at. But at least Tammy will be here in 2 days.
Yeah, so get your committee together
Okay.
and present a proposal. Mike?
Oh, down here on your Mackenzie thing, just to give you guys a kind of heads up, where he's got that trailer stuff going in and out of there, his curb stand is right there.
He's running over, it's gonna.
I'm just giving you a fair warning, semis do not like curb stands.
Where he's parked on where's he parked at right now?
Where his trailer's
Side of
parked
the
alongside
shop?
of his shop, alongside of A Street there.
He's not running it, I don't think it's moved yet. but it-
No, but he had to back it in there, and whether or not, I know he knows because he saw where we turned his water on right there, and maybe he was careful not doing it. I'm just giving you guys forewarning that if a big leak develops down there, that might be one of your reasons why.
Okay,
Because semis do not like curb stands, they'll snap them off, snap your water line off real quick.
If we write up this proposal, it doesn't have to be pretty accurate from a legal point of view, or can it just say, please do a survey, or a professional survey for a zoning map?